what was then said to be the twin deficit problem. Growth was slowing, inflation was high, fiscal and current account deficits were under huge pressure, banks and corporates were stressed, investor confidence was weak. There was a sense that India had enormous potential, but that the system was not moving fast enough to convert that potential into outcomes, and outcomes are key. India's transformation since then has not been accidental. It has been built on deep structural reforms, large-scale digitization, infrastructure creation, financial inclusion, formalization, and a relentless focus on execution. And therefore, there are some lessons, and I would put the first lesson is that a country must create one seamless national market. India's goods and services tax was India's most ambitious tax reform. It subsumed 28 taxes, 18 cesses, and created a common indirect tax framework across a large and complex federal economy. Before GST, India's internal market was fragmented by checkposts, long queues, multiple tax rates, cascading taxes, and complex compliance requirements. And therefore, GST changed that architecture. Each of India's state is now represented in the GST Council. And therefore, my view is that taxation should not be seen merely as revenue extraction. It must be seen as an instrument of formalization, competitiveness of economy, and investment. The second lesson is the importance of targeted industrial policy with clear outcomes. We brought in the Make in India policy. India's production-linked incentive schemes were designed to build scale in sectors where India could become globally competitive. Electronics, mobile phones, solar modules, batteries, pharmaceuticals. The idea was simple. Incentives can only be linked to production, not to intent. Industry must invest, and we believe in free enterprise. So industry must invest, produce, export, and create jobs. Government can only be a facilitator and catalyst, and any incentive must be linked to increased production. And therefore, from negligible levels, India's mobile phone exports are now India's third largest exports. I had the privilege of leading the Make in India initiative from its launch. When we started, India had only 2 mobile manufacturing units, and we imported 81% of our phones from China. Today, India is the second largest mobile phone manufacturing globally, with over 300 units producing 33 crores phones annually and meeting 97% of its domestic demand. And therefore, this happened because policy, infrastructure, incentives, global lead firms, domestic enterprise, and execution all converged. For Nepal, the opportunity will be different, but the principle is relevant. Nepal must identify a few sectors where it can be globally competitive. Hydropower is obvious, tourism is obvious, IT and digital services are emerging, agro-processing, medicinal herbs, high-value agriculture, wellness, education, and niche manufacturing all can become engines of massive growth. But Nepal must avoid spreading incentives too thinly. It must focus on sectors where it has a comparative advantage, create predictive policy framework, and build execution capacity of scale and speed. Governance is key and outcomes are critical. The third lesson is that telecom and digital infrastructure can be the most transformational force. India's telecom revolution was not merely about mobile phones. It was about inclusion, productivity, markets, and empowerment. India has 1.5 billion digital identity. Everybody has a digital identity. But between 2015 and 2017, we opened 550 million bank accounts. Every second bank account opened in the world was opened in India. And then we linked it up with digital identity and the mobile number. And that started fast payments. At that stage, we had only 156 startups in India. We launched the Startup India movement. And using the digital public infrastructure layer, many startups started using payment history, fast payment history to provide credit, MobiKwik, Pine Lab, etc. Then you had young startups like Zerodha, Grow Up Stock, who took stock market to tier 2, tier 3 cities. And then you had another set of startups like GoDigit and Acco, who took insurance. So India does bank opening, fast payments, credit, stock market, insurance with no paperwork. It's all on mobile. It's all within 30 seconds to 1 minute. 30 seconds to 1 minute. Anytime, anywhere on the mobile. I've not been to a physical bank. I've not used my checkbook. I've not used my credit card. I've not been to an ATM machine in India for the last 5 years. And therefore, this digital transformation is key. And therefore, I say that India's telecom revolution was not merely about mobile phones. It was about inclusion, productivity, markets, and empowerment. We built up a different model. In the western part of the world, all technological revolution has been driven by Amazon, by Google, by Apple, and by Meta. But when you get on to them, your personal data is owned by them, which they use for machine learning, for artificial intelligence. You're not your owner of your data. In India, we built up the digital public infrastructure layer. The data belongs to the citizen. The model does not allow memorization of data. But on top of that, private sector competes. PhonePe competes with Google Pay. Paytm competes with Amazon Pay. And that's how innovation has taken place. It's open source, open API, globally interoperable. You can do that operation from France, from Nepal, from Singapore, anywhere. And therefore, we use this model in 700 schemes. India had the highest amount of leakage in government schemes. Money would not reach the beneficiaries. But today, in 710 schemes of the government, we put money directly into the bank account of the beneficiaries with zero leakage. Zero leakage. And therefore, India has become a far more productive economy. During COVID, we could do 2.2 billion COVID vaccination with no paperwork, all digital. And therefore, direct benefit transfers reduce leakages, UPI transformed payments, India Stack enabled private innovation on public digital rails. And today, a street vendor in India can accept digital payments instantly, and a small entrepreneur can build a business using digital identity, digital payments, and digital credit histories. And now 5G is taking this transformation to the next level. India launched commercial 5G in October 22 and today has over 450 million 5G subscribers with nationwide coverage across 99.9% of districts. This is not just faster internet, it is the backbone for AI-driven services, telemedicine, precision agriculture, smart logistics, and real-time digital public services. And therefore, the Bank of International Settlements said that India achieved in 7 years what it would have taken India 50 years to achieve. What it would have taken India 50 years to achieve, we achieved in 7 years. And World Bank in its study said that because there was no paperwork, you could acquire customers which you were acquiring for $30, you can now acquire for 15 cents. And that is why a new company like Reliance Jio could acquire 510 million customers in less than 9 months. And therefore, digital transformation is key, 5G is key, and the most important critical aspect is build your digital public infrastructure, which is open source, open API. And for Nepal, telecom and IT can be the biggest game changers. Nepal's geography makes physical service delivery difficult. It's a hilly terrain in many areas. And I'm saying this again, Nepal's geography makes physical service delivery difficult in many areas, but digital infrastructure can overcome all its constraints. And Nepal has the opportunity to leapfrog directly to next generation connectivity. So my view is it's time for Nepal to shift to the next gear. Nepal has the talent, the ambition, the growing youth population that is hungry for digital opportunities. What is needed now is the policy clarity, infrastructure, investment, and public-private collaboration to accelerate 5G and digital public infrastructure. Digital payments can boost tourism and small businesses. Digital identity and digital records can improve service delivery. And digital platforms can support agriculture, health, education, skilling, and migration services. And IT services can provide high-quality employment for young Nepalese without requiring them to leave the countries. All of you will create jobs with this digital transformation. And therefore, ladies and gentlemen, this IT revolution, 5G revolution, digital transformation is the key to transforming Nepal. The fourth idea, I would say, is deregulation. Over the years, Nepal has built up rules, regulation, procedures, acts, laws, making it difficult for free enterprise. And all these laws and rules are the ideal bed for corruption, lack of integrity, and then politicians collaborate with businessmen to make money. And so, ladies and gentlemen, entrepreneurs become corrupt because of politicians, because they build bureaucrats, and politicians have a vested interest in making rules, regulation, laws, and acts. Scrap them. Just scrap them. Make Nepal the easiest, the simplest place in the world to do business. Without free enterprise, Nepal can't grow. And therefore, it is important to create the atmosphere for deregulation. Entrepreneurs fail because the system makes it difficult to start, operate, and scale. Too many licenses, too many inspections, too many approvals, too much discretion with bureaucrats, and too much uncertainty and lack of predictability discourages investment. To my mind, regulation must protect citizens without choking enterprise. The role of government must shift from controller to enabler. Have clear rules, time-bound approvals, single-window systems, risk-based inspections, digital compliances, and no citizen should get in touch with government servants and politicians. It should all be digital. Have sunset clauses for outdated regulations. This is essential. And once Nepal deregulates, becomes easy, make it the easiest and the simplest place in the world to do business, Nepal will grow not at 4.5% or 6%. It will grow at 9 to 10% for the next 3 decades. And therefore, I'm glad that the symposium note refers to the idea of a regulatory bulletin. This can be powerful reform if implemented seriously. Every ministry and agency should ask, is this rule still needed? Does it protect citizens? Does it promote investment? Can it be simplified? Can it be digitized? And why not remove it? The Gen Z movement has been against corruption. It has been a movement for integrity And it is incumbent upon this government to make it easiest and simple. For Nepal, regulatory simplification will have a dramatic impact, especially in tourism, in hydropower, in telecom, in IT, in agriculture, and foreign investment. The fifth point I'd like to make, ladies and gentlemen, is that infrastructure must precede investment. In India's case, we built infrastructure. In the last decade, this government has built 40 million houses, which is more than the population of Australia for its citizens. We provided piped water connection to 253 million citizens, which is more than the population of Brazil. We've provided 130 million toilets to our citizens, which is more than the population of Germany. And we gave 120 million gas connections to our women who used to burn firewood. So, ladies and gentlemen, we've also built 88,000 kilometers of roads, expressways, and highways in India. We took our capex spend from less than 1% to over 4.5%. So our view is that no country can become rich without investing in infrastructure. If Nepal has to become rich, wealthy, and grow at 9 to 10% and transform the lives of its citizens, it must have roads, railways, airports, logistics, transmission line, digital network. All this is critical. And that will transform. Not only do large-scale infrastructure projects, don't just give away subsidies. Subsidies no good. This is all subsidies. Have focused subsidy without leakages for the poorest of the poor. No harm. Please give it to the poorest of the poor. But you are giving away subsidies to many of those who do not deserve. Use that money to build infrastructure. And therefore, large-scale infrastructure projects will have a direct impact and lift huge segments of population above poverty line, but they'll have a huge substantial multiplier impact on economy. So, ladies and gentlemen, I'm not being prescriptive. I don't want to say this, but it's important to learn from all other countries of the world. You know, post-World War II, only 3 countries have really grown. Japan, Korea, China, and a small country like Singapore. 108 countries of the world are caught in middle income trap. And it's important that Nepal doesn't get caught in middle income trap. And it grows at 9 not. Its ambition can't be 4.5. Its ambition can't be 6%. Its ambition must be 9 to 10% growth over the next 3 decades. And that is why it's very important to bring in good governance, focus on outcomes, use the power. We focused on the poorest of the poor. We initiated a scheme called the Aspirational District Program. 115 of the most backward districts of India, we defined the outcomes. We said these are the outcomes we want to achieve. We said we will measure the outcomes on a monthly basis, real-time data flowing in, and we started putting out this data in public domain. Third-party verification started putting out this data in public domain. We measured the delta, the change month by month of all these 115 districts, and we started bringing competitive pressure on these districts. And we started naming and shaming the collectors. We started naming and shaming the politicians. The transformation was immense because once you put data in public domain, that was not possible when I was a young officer. It's possible today because of the power of mobile phones. You get data, you verify, you get a third-party verification, you put performance in public domain. Every politician, every elected representative, every citizen will know whether your district is going up or coming down. Please use the power of digital technology to name and shame, create competition, and bring change. That is critical. And therefore, leveraging digital technologies to monitor is critical. Leveraging digital technologies to reduce project delays, improve planning, and ultimately better delivery on the ground is critical. And the next lesson I would put in is focus on green growth. Nepal is too precious for the world. The pursuit of economic growth is essential for lifting millions of poverty. but net zero is net positive for Nepal. Nepal must be the first country in the world which must ensure that it does it in a manner which is sustainable. We need to ensure that Nepal's development gains are not undermined by its inability to address the causes of climate change. And therefore, my view is that focus on renewable capacity, focus on hydro, focus on wind, and focus on clean cooking fuel, focus on LED bulbs, focus on making your mobility electrical, 100% electrical. I'm glad to see that new vehicles are 74%, but it's not four-wheelers. Please ensure that 100% of the vehicles being registered are two-wheelers and three-wheelers are all electric. Ensure that buses and lorries are all electrical, and Nepal goes 100% electric vehicles. And that will be transformational. Also push for sustainable lifestyles and behavior changes, because it's eventually all of us who dirty, we pollute. And therefore, when all of you have brought a new government, there's a huge responsibility on the citizens. The citizens to ensure that cities are kept clean, that you segregate waste, you become a part of this movement, you become a partner with this government to transform Nepal. So my view is that there are huge lessons which we learn from other parts of the countries, other parts of the world. We learn lessons that answer that multi-pronged response spanning multiple levels, delivering enablers through supporting policy is critical. And what I learned from the experience of many of these countries, Japan, Korea, China, Singapore, all of them, is that it's important to have project pipelines. It's important to have renewable energy purchases. It's important to push for renewables. It's important in a very big way to make Nepal demonstrate to the world that it believes in green growth. It'll grow, but it'll grow in a manner which is sustainable. It must become the world's best example of sustainable growth. And the last lesson I want to talk about is tourism as a force multiplier. Because I've always believed that Nepal has been blessed by God. There's no other destination which has more potential than Nepal. Tourism is the most powerful engine of economic transformation and for job creation for Nepal. I say this as someone who has worked on destination branding in building Kerala's God's own country and incredible India at the national level. These were not marketing campaigns. They were basically economic transformation strategies. So my belief is Kerala used to be a $20 a night destination. One Kovalam beach, all low value charters coming in, 20 value, we took it then to $600 a night. My belief is that Nepal should not be selling for anything less than $1,500 a night. It's that precious a destination. By selling it cheap, you're doing a great disservice to this greatest destination on earth. And therefore, my view is, when we started building Kerala, we stopped Kovalam Beach, but we built up backwaters, we built up houseboats, on which not a single nail is used, but we took Kerala back to its roots. We created a sense of pride amongst the people of Kerala. We went back to traditional Kerala architecture, the Nalkittam houses, which are all being sold as firewood. We brought them back as tourism assets. We brought the Kerala culture back, Mohiniyattam, Kathakali. We brought back traditional Kerala martial art, Kalripet, which has lost its relevance, but now is today the most important thing. It's the mother of all martial art. We brought back traditional Kerala cuisine, appam and stew, which has become the most fashionable cuisine now. So the people of Kerala got a pride about their architecture, their cuisine, their art forms, their martial art, their backwaters, their houseboats, and we created a unique product. The travelers of the world are not looking for five-star rooms. They're looking for boutique experiences. They're looking for Nepal as Nepal is. They are not looking for you to replicate a Western experience. They've already experienced that. But if you give them the feel and flavor of Nepal, if you give them the feel and flavor of Nepalese culture, of Nepalese cuisine, of Nepalese art forms, you will create a unique product. And my view is that that will have a multiplier impact. You will create a very powerful tourism destination, and the real power of tourism will lie in its multiplier impact. And in women's jobs, Nepal has 52% of the women. So every house in India we gave was in the name of women. Every bank account we opened was in the name of women. When we started opening bank account, only 18% of the women had a bank account. Today, 90% of the women have a bank account. So please focus on the women. Finance Minister, the people of Nepal have voted for you, but the women of Nepal have voted for you. And if you want to continue to transform Nepal, jobs must be created for the women of Nepal. And therefore, my view is that every tourism jobs creates multiple indirect jobs across transport, handicrafts, food, digital services, and cultural activities. And Nepal has everything it needs to make a huge leap. And Nepal should focus on high-value tourism. The opportunity is clear. Nepal is still perceived as a budget trekking destination. But it has world-class potential for high-value luxury tourism. It has the potential to be the highest value luxury market in the world. And therefore, Nepal should focus on, to my mind, 5 pillars. First, premium infrastructure. High-value travelers expect seamless connectivity, provide that. Second, curated experiences. Luxury travelers today want more than sightseeing. They want private cultural ceremonies, immersive wellness programs, and please give it to them. Third, premium pricing. Nepal should not be afraid to price its offering at global luxury standards. Everest expeditions in the 70s cost $1 or $2 million per expedition and were considered the pinnacle of luxury adventure travel. Today, too many people are visiting Everest. Charge them heavily. Nepal should raise prices significantly, limit the number of expeditions to ensure sustainability and exclusivity. Make it the highest value trekking ever, highest value exclusive experience, and capture more value for Nepal. Fourth, do global branding and positioning for Nepal. Nepal needs a cohesive world-class destination brand that positions us as the world's premier luxury adventure and wellness destination. And fifth, have some great cross-border experiences, because you should be able to capture people who come to other regions into Nepal. So one of the most untapped opportunities lies in creating a seamless Ramayana circuit linking Ayodhya and Janakpur, cities eternally connected through Lord Ram and Sita, and many more. So if Nepal gets this right, tourism contribution to GDP currently, it contributes just about 6.5%. Actually, it should be nothing less than 15% in the case of Nepal. And you'll not about contribution, but it'll create thousands and thousands of high quality jobs. And I would only say that the last point I would make is that Nepal's growth cannot be led only by government. Government should be the facilitator and catalyst. It is important that private enterprise must lead. But the private enterprise must also lead with integrity. It can't be that the private enterprise, it cannot be that the private enterprise makes money with corruption. It's important that countries grow with private enterprise, they are wealth creators, but the government should ensure that the government can create the right policies, infrastructure, and platforms. But investment, innovation, risk-taking, and job creation must come from entrepreneurs, particularly young entrepreneurs. And seasoned entrepreneurs must ensure that what they have done in the last 30 years will not be repeated. Corruption will not be a part of Nepal's story. at least I've seen this in India, that in the last 10 years, there's greater integrity, there's greater honesty, there's much greater level of predictability and consistency of policy, which has enabled India to grow. And therefore, my belief is that when there is honesty and integrity, a country tends to grow for a long period of time. And it is very important for government to be predictable, to have policy framework, but for private sector to ensure that they do not corrupt politicians and civil servants. It's important for them to do this. And therefore, my view is that implementation is really the key. Implementation is really the key for Nepal in the years to come. And if we look at the future, the question before us is clear. How do we take this very rich inheritance of Nepal and translate it into a modern, future-ready nation that works for the next generation of Nepalese? And my view is that there is no nation on earth which has greater potential than Nepal. The growth must reach the last mile, whether it is a farmer in Madhya province, a small entrepreneur in Pokhara, a student in Viratnagar, a startup founder in Kathmandu. All of them must benefit. And our task is to really turn today's disruption by Gen Z into tomorrow's opportunities. And it's important that we build Nepal as a unique model, and we build this as a unique example of growth led by its citizens, as a unique driver of growth led by its new government, and as a unique driver of growth led by young startups on digital transformation. And it's important that we in India will continue to work together with you, because history binds us. And it's important that as neighbors, we continue to support this great movement of Gen Z into a great prosperity and progress for Nepal. And this movement should actually inspire all of you in Nepal to ensure that Nepal grows at high rates for the next 3 decades. But more than anything else, it leads to the transformation of the lives of citizens of Nepal, and it becomes a great model for the rest of the world. Thank you very much, ladies.